Hey everybody, Scott with I about told you who I work for. This is Scott and my podcast, the Green Pants Podcast. And you know, I've wanted to do a podcast every week, once a week, and here I am in the middle of writing a 5-book series, and I'm on book 3 right now. And it's just, there's so much going on with my writing, the podcast, other things that I'm working on, excuse me. And it just, life happens and whatnot. So I think what's probably a little more realistic is every other week. And I'm going to try to stick to that. This one may be a little shorter than usual. I've been running close to 30 minutes for the last few, and this isn't going to be near that, I don't think. But I'm also going to lay out what I'm doing for 2 different episodes. I'm going to talk about one of them right now and one afterwards at the end. And the other, I had to write this all down because it's just crazy for me. I'm not going to tell you what the word is. You can probably figure it out. But it's this thing going on right now in the world with, I don't know, 18 to 30-year-olds where improve your appearance to increase confidence, attraction, and opportunities. And this, it's not just a fashion trend. It's not. It's as radical as using something that they call bone smashing. They actually physically break and smash their bones on their own to change their appearance, to make them better looking. And they essentially believe that if you're not a 9 or a 10, you just, your life is dead. It's over. Grooming, skincare, fitness. It's an obsession. It's an advanced obsession. And there's certain people that have promulgated this, that have pushed this, that are at the front of this. And if you ask me, I think I need to change my camera level. Should I be up like more here? Yeah, I think so. My chair doesn't go that high, so I'm gonna have to lower my camera, I guess. But anyway, it's crazy. Why is it blowing up? It says here there's a few big drivers: TikTok, dating apps, AI filters, and online communities. And there's definitely a dark side. Misogyny, resentment communities, fatalism. Genetics determine everything. And your identity is tied entirely to appearance. I'm sure you can plug all this in and find out what I'm talking about, but that's going to be an episode because I think it also ties in with Hollywood, with entertainment in general. But on this episode, it's, to me, this is something I've thought about this topic for it's not just weeks or months, but it's years actually. Because I just felt like whether it's friends, family, whatever it is, it affects, I think, everybody, even if you think it doesn't. And, you know, I think that we say things that, and we mean well, sometimes, other times maybe not, but we just don't think about what we're saying because it's just a rote type of memory that we come out with, kind of like when someone asks you how you're doing. How you doing? And what do most people say? Whether it's a stranger, whether it's your mom or dad or whatever. Hey, I'm doing great. Hey, can't complain. What would it do anyway? Blah, blah, blah. So I think most people respond that way. Do you? Right? It's just, we do. I don't think it's good or bad. It's just, it's human nature to do that. But therein lies, I think this topic, though, is analogous. It's similar to that in that there's actually studies and clinical, because, you know, I like to really pull down just a couple of clinical studies or at least a summary of studies and use it as to something that I'm talking about. And that's what I've done today. I've got too much information really to go with, and I'm not going to do that. But I've got some notes and I've got some things I've highlighted because I think it's fascinating. There is, and this is section 1, it's called Core Research Findings. I'll tell you what I'm talking about. It'll make sense here in a minute. Average Americans report feeling extremely busy, yet time tracking shows significant discretionary time remains. Adults average 8 hours of sleep and substantial leisure time. This is called the American Time Use Survey, ATUS. And their conclusion was perceived busyness is often higher than actual time scarcity. There are 5 different studies they talk about here. And I'm just going to read the summaries, the conclusions. This one here is by someone called Laura Vanderkam, a time diary research, where they actually plot in diary, journal their time. Findings show people miscalculate their schedules and underestimate available time. Emergency situations reveal flexible time availability, proving time is reallocatable. This is another time perception study, more the behavioral aspect. People overestimate work hours and underestimate leisure, leading to a false narrative of busyness. This one is labeled time affluence research. Perception of control over time is more important than actual available time. And the last one, micro time usage study, or fragmented time. Spare moments are primarily spent on leisure, 60%, not productivity. This demonstrates that small pockets of time are consistently allocated by preference. I think that's key. I think that's central in this entire episode that I'm talking about. People are just they're really bad at estimating their time. I know I am. I think that I'm going off script here. I don't have a script, but I think that what we do, and I know there's plenty of data to support this, but they call it, I guess, doom scrolling. I think that's the term for it. But you get onto TikTok, you get onto Instagram, or even Facebook, Snapchat, whatever your flavor is. And I've done this. I'll explain how it's affected me. And thank goodness I don't get on Facebook near as much as I used to. I check it a few times a day now. It used to be anytime I pick my phone up. And I just don't do that anymore. And I'm so glad that I don't. I also tend to not watch the news a lot anymore. And my issues and my beliefs, political, religious, what have you, they're very strong. But the news is just garbage, left or right, doesn't matter. But I will find myself before bedtime, whatever, normally wanting to, put something on my iPad. Teresa puts something on her iPad because we watch a lot of different things that we don't both love or like. But what I'll find, there'll be nights where I'll get on and I'll get stuck on something on Instagram. I want to research something. I'll look something up and I'll be on Instagram and then I'll look at the clock and it's 11:40. And I'm like, I wanted to watch an episode of Paradise, or I wanted to watch an episode of whatever. I wanted to finish the Billy Idol documentary. It's fabulous, by the way. And then before I know it, it's midnight, and I just spent 2.5 hours doom scrolling. That's what it is. It's a great term for it, doom scrolling. But I'm kind of getting off topic here, somewhat off topic, but we underestimate so much about what we do and how we spend our time. And therefore, when someone asks us to do something, just like when we say, hey, I'm doing great, no problem, couldn't be better. Regarding time, so many of us, I know I can find myself saying, I was too busy. The time got away from me. It's just crazy. Things are crazy. And we know now that 60% of your available time is wasted, at least according to certain studies. So there's a great chance that all that time that you think you're busy, an overwhelming majority of it is just wasted. But there's another reason, and I think that I'll close on that a little bit later on. But priority, not time, determines action. And again, with social media, they call it hidden time leaks. consume really large portions of your day. And identity shapes time usage. People invest in time that reinforces who they are and what they do. I think that one's something that you can really unpack and think about. That, I'm so busy because I'm doing this. And I bet that's really, really a big deal in Hollywood, where you've got someone that's so busy and they're writing this script and they're doing this. And meanwhile, they actually don't have a job. But it's those appearances. Their busyness is important because, God forbid, they tell a person, no, I'm not very busy. I'm not doing anything. I'm stuck. I'm in a rut. I'm in a hole. And that type of weakness in Hollywood. One thing I've learned, because I'm not a Hollywood guy by all means, even though, I've got a major motion picture and was part of that. But I think that when you're probably in it on a daily basis, that weakness is not a good thing. And finally, in this section under key insights, I'm busy. It's a socially acceptable way to say no. It is. What's crazy is that I find myself, even with friends, thinking about that. Someone asked me to do something, and I'm like, well, hey, you know what? I've been gone all week, and things are crazy, and I'm just so busy I can't do it. But now I find myself thinking a little bit more about that answer. So maybe instead of, I'm just too busy, can't do it, I'll be like, maybe a better alternative would be, I've been gone all week. I just got home and I would love to, and I'd love to do it at a different time, but I'm going to spend time with Teresa. I'm going to spend time with Austin, and I'm going to spend time with Logan and his wife or whatever. But I think a lot of us just fall back on, I'm swamped. I can't. I'd love to, but I can't. So is there a big difference in those two things? I think so. I think it's a cultural thing. It's a personal thing, and it's an easy thing to do. It's an easy thing to just say, I'm busy. Why don't friends keep in touch? It's always me. That's a whole other episode there. People you went to school with, people you went to college with, people you've known for years. And then once you leave or you're separated for some reason, and you find yourself that you call them every few months, and maybe this goes on for a few years, and then you realize that other person's never called me. So that's not so much about what we're talking about here, but I guess they're too busy. So there's two more sections. What the data actually says. Time studies consistently show that even full-time workers maintain 4 to 6 hours of discretionary time. That's free time. The average worker. People often report working 50 to 60 hours per week. In reality, it's 35 to 45. And this inflation is tied to emotional recall. And what we do, though, so often is we take, in certain studies here, 5 to 20 minute increments are times where maybe we'll be wasting time. You're sitting at your desk and you read something, you read a whatever, and then before you know it, 20 minutes has gone by, and then you go and you get back to work. You spend 5 minutes here. Then before you know it, later in the day, you never kept track, but in reality, you spent 4.5 hours within that 12, 14-hour time period of not doing a lot. Some of these are just kind of regurgitating the same thing. People consistently reallocate time toward what they value most. And I'm going to close out with this, the hard truths. Everyone has the same 168 hours per week. Most people are not too busy. They are preoccupied. Saying no time often means not important enough time. Lack of clarity leads to poor time allocation. Small time leaks destroy large opportunities. So, are you one of those ones, like me, who oftentimes say, I'm just too busy. I can't. I'm too busy. Also, are you one of the persons that replies to that one question, how you doing? I'm doing great. Couldn't be better. But you're having a horrible year. You're having a horrible month. It's just something to think about. But I think this whole issue about time management, I could do so much better with it. And I think the average person could too. But the bottom line is, and I mentioned it in one of those bullet points, is that you're as busy as you want to be. Everybody is busy, but you will always make time for the things and the people that you want to make time for. Don't kid yourself. If someone tries to show you that he or she is so much busier than you, and they use that as this badge of honor or something, 99% of the time I would say I don't believe it. Because we're all busy. We all have challenges. We all have things we're doing. And I'll just close on this because I think, well, two things. First, I think if you tracked, and I'm working on this, but tracking and journaling my time, looking at 30-minute increments for a week's time, and I want to see how that goes. And that's what some of the studies recommend, is a 30-minute clip, just checking it off however you want to keep track of it, about what you're doing. I'm sure you can do the same thing with money. But it's that's number one. Number two, it's a fact that you're going to make time for the things that you want to make time for. No matter how busy you say you are, you'll always find the time to do those things, to see those people, to spend time with those things and people you want to. And again, it's not good or bad. It just is. And I think it's something worth acknowledging and talking about. And maybe giving some self, introspection. Is that what I'm looking for? And maybe you just think about it. The next time someone asks you something, to do something, I hope you remember this. When you're getting ready to say, oh gosh, we're too busy, think about that. Maybe you are. Maybe you're just... And I think being too busy and having a conflict are different things, right? So we all have conflicts, and I think that's the proper way to maybe say, hey, I'd love to do this, but we've already got plans to do this, or we're going to a hockey game or whatever. But next time you get into a situation where you're going to say, I'm just too busy, think about that, and maybe think about saying it differently. Because everybody's been in those uncomfortable situations where maybe you don't want to do something with that person. Just a fact, human nature. How do you answer that politely, though? And lastly, I want to pull this up because it's crazy. It's about a certain pathology. I'm not going to get too deep into it because it can be called several different things. It's something called pressured speech. There's one called Lagoria. ADHD-related hyperverbal behavior, anxiety-driven talking. Let's see. What it is, I want to talk about this because it's about talking. And I have a loved one that cannot stop talking. And I'll never forget it, though, because we did an interview on the press tour for Unbreakable Boy, and there's 3 or 4 YouTube channels that they hate me. And they hate everything about Unbreakable Boy. They're like, no autistic kid's going to wear that hat, the jester hat. No autistic kid talks like Austin does. And, it was so rude in that interview, this actor cut Austin off or this or that. And I just want to reach through the screen and just tell them, you don't understand, because you do have to do that with Austin sometimes, because he won't stop talking. And I haven't found an actual good clinical name for that, because I believe it is something, it's a pathology. It's not just he talks a lot. Big distinction between someone who talks a lot and a pathology that is present where someone can't stop themselves from talking. Austin knows that too. But I'm going to go back and have another episode, though, about those critics, because it's something that I look at every once in a blue moon, and I shouldn't, because it's just nothing but nasty, toxic garbage. And it's just so wild for me to have people that are in the autism world that are as judgmental as they are. And it's that subset, that militant subset, that if you don't represent and present autism to a T, they'll put a picture of you on the internet saying bald, alcoholic, albino, piece of... I woke up to that one morning. My picture they'd taken and wrote that on there. And in reality, though, I wanted to share our story and continue to share our story, because I hope we help people. And I hope people enjoy it and enjoyed the film, enjoyed the book. And because it was all coming from my heart. I mean, I've been called such a narcissist by some folks because I wrote a book, and I'm totally digressing. But that's my nature, though. That's what I do. I talk a lot too, but that's not who I'm talking about in that episode. But I will let you go. I'm not sure what episode number this is, 16 or 17. I don't think I put a number on the last episode where I talked about the death of my dog, Gracie, 3.5 years old. She was poisoned, and she made it 3.5 years. And we'll never know what they were poisoned with when they were where they were. But it was heartbreaking. I'm sitting here now with Coco. Come here, Coco. Come here. You want to say goodbye? Let's say goodbye. Come here. 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 She'll come up here. Come here. Oh. Sorry. You want to say goodbye? No, she doesn't want to say goodbye. All right, here's Coco. It's my girl. She's now with me every day in my office. And I thank God for Coco, because she was Gracie's sister. They were litter mates. And she's still having a hard time. And I get it. I totally get it. And thank God that we got a puppy, for Austin a couple months ago, because Coco has really had the opportunity to bond with Harley. And they're now to the point where they fight with each other all day long and do zoomies and whatnot. So, Gracie, say goodnight. You know what? George Burns used to say that. Say goodnight, Gracie. The younger folks out there are like, who's George Burns? One of the greatest comedians of all time. But good night. God bless. See you next time. Love y'all.